Jewelry is a real signifier of the personality that you are.
Hello, I'm Loïc Prigent. You're listening to Louis Vuitton Extended, the podcast. This episode takes us to the wonderful kingdom of precious gems and metals in the company of Francesca Amfitheatrof, the artistic director for watches and jewelry at Vuitton. At Vuitton, Nicolas Ghesquière does women's wear, Pharrell Williams does menswear, Jacques Cavalier-Beltru for perfumes, and Francesca Amfitheatrof for watches and jewelry. We discussed her travels, her inspirations, and her disruptive spirit, everything that fosters her creative mind and one-of-a-kind craft. Bonjour, Francesca.
Bonjour.
I'm so happy to have you on the podcast.
Me too.
Oh la la.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while.
It's been a while. 6 years for you at Louis Vuitton now.
That's right.
How do you feel?
Great.
Yes.
It's been amazing. It's been a very high-speed, ambitious, fun, very visionary 6 years. And we've created 2 diamond cuts. So voila.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, super rare.
Yeah, super rare. I mean, really, in hundreds of years, there hasn't been such an exciting cut.
Can you tell me about them?
Well, it's obviously inspired by the monogram. So one is in the shape of a flower and one is in the shape of the star. They're very complex cuts because diamonds, as you know, it's a very hard material. A diamond doesn't like to be cut into. So it's a very, very difficult, quite unusual cut to be able to manufacture in small quantities, because we're still very, very small, but it's extraordinary. And obviously we go straight to the mine, we have a blockchain, we know every hand that touches the stone, and it's kind of the holy grail of diamonds, really, because it's just such a phenomenally unusual cut.
And you say it's fun?
Yeah.
You're having fun?
I'm having so much fun. I'm having so much fun because Vuitton is a fashion house, so it has that energy, right? It moves fast, it's super creative. We have numerous artistic directors. We are constantly creating events, doing launches, and so it has this energy. And I think at Vuitton, there's a real respect for the vision of the creative and artistic director and of creativity. And so that's, you know, a fantastic world and space to be in.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you are what you wear. You are the jewels that you wear. So
Yeah.
who are you today?
Well, I'm a big mix. I like to mix and style jewelry. So
Every day?
Every
Different?
day. Yeah, I try and wear different jewelry, and I like to really mix it. And I think that, you know, jewelry is a real signifier of the personality that you are. Everybody wears jewelry for a personal reason, right? And so it's very symbolic, it's very meaningful. And so I think that, you know, it's not a uniform.
What's your favorite kind of jewelry?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. Obviously, I love some of the pieces in high jewelry that we make. I love emeralds, I love diamonds. I also love, you know, jewelry that is kind of unusual. And because I'm working with the designs, I love wearing the pieces that I'm working on. Thinking about it, feeling them, seeing how they are, you know.
Being the first one to wear it.
Of course. Hopefully, yes.
Must be quite interesting. And what kind of jewels did you like as a child?
I've always loved metal. I'm a metal lover. I came into jewelry through metal. I didn't come into jewelry through gemology, right? Through
You're
stones.
a metalsmith, right?
I'm a metalsmith. I used to mix my own golds. I used to make my own gold, make my own wire, make my own sheet. I'm a bench jeweler. I'm also a silversmith. I can raise silver. So I came into jewelry through metal, and my love of gold is really what drew me into it.
When was the first spark of that
The
love?
first piece of jewelry I made, I was 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, I come from a family that wore jewelry quite a lot. And my mother, my grandmother, they all wore a lot of jewelry. And so I saw jewelry. I always remember the pieces that they wore. I think because my mother's Italian and Italians like to wear jewelry, I was always surrounded by beautiful things. And I think that that has always led my, you know, it's literally like your cellular makeup of who you are inside as a person that, you know, has to have that that element, and then it grows. It grows with your interest and with your passion. But if you have that really within you, and, you know, I was born in Japan, I'm, you know, partly Italian, so those aesthetics are very much part of me. And then I went to art school in England, which is all about being creative.
How come you were born in Tokyo?
My father was a journalist. He was bureau chief of Time magazine. So every 4 years we changed country.
And traveling did inform your personality, you think?
A lot. I think a lot. I think because I changed country every 4 years, and we went from Asia to America to Europe, and eventually they moved to Russia. And I think it just makes you curious, it makes you non-judgmental, it makes you open-minded, it definitely gives you a sense of adventure. I'm a born traveler. I feel very much at home, you know, in Rome. I've now got to know Paris really well. London is my city, New York, and now I have a cave.
What is this cave you're talking about?
I built a house in a cave on a very small island in Italy called Ventotene, and I feel very at home there. And the weird thing is, I live in a cave in the summer in Italy, and in Connecticut, where I live in America, which is my family house, I live next to a quarry, so there's definitely something there to do with stones and, you know.
Incroyable.
Yeah, digging into the earth.
Ooh, super intriguing. And where do you draw your inspirations from, apart from traveling?
Each year we choose a theme. We're very, you know, we start 2 years in advance, even a little bit before. We're very committed to that theme. I take my team on an inspiration trip. We get obsessed, we study, we learn, we get completely immersed in that theme. And the themes obviously have to be very strongly connected to the Maison of Louis Vuitton and also relevant for when they launch 2 years later, relevant to what's going on in the world. There's no point designing something that you would have worn in the 1950s. You know, they need to be relevant to people today.
And how tradition and innovation mingle in your craft?
Innovation is important. I think that we have such incredible frontiers that we can cross. For example, the 2 diamond cuts that we've created, the LV diamond cups, the flower and the star, we would not have been able to do without technology because of wastage. We would have wasted way too much material, and it's very expensive material. So we can analyze a rough, we can 3D kind of, you know, picture the cuts that we do, we can laser cut them, and then we can hand cut everything. So that is the perfect mixture of tech and craftsmanship, is savoir-faire and technology, which is very Vuitton. It's very who we are. You know, we always are on to the next frontier. AI is going to play a huge role, for sure. Oh, yes, for sure. Not in high jewelry, but I truly believe that AI is going to make huge changes to our industry, of course.
Ooh, exciting times.
Exciting and scary, right?
Yeah, which is the best.
It's both, exactly. But it's a completely new frontier, and it's going to make a huge impact.
What's the most disruptive piece you've ever designed, do you think?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think the work that we do, you know, with Kate Blanchett is really amazing. This is something that's happened between really her and I. This wasn't at all a contractual agreement. This really comes from our own relationship that we've had for over 10 years. She is very, very dedicated to repurposing both clothes and jewelry and accessories. So jewelry's perfect. You know, I dismantle pieces and I recreate them for her to wear on the red carpet, and they tend to be very creative pieces. So she just wore something in Venice that was made of repurposed elements, so pearls and diamonds, and it just crosses her body and goes around her shoulders like a line, like a perfectly chic line of pearls and diamonds. Super unusual. And she and I and Elizabeth Stewart, her stylist, really work very well together. We really have a great kind of understanding, and it's a great message. You know, it's really important. And so there's freedom, there's creative freedom, completely. And then we dismantle the pieces and rework them again. So I think that's super exciting.
It doesn't exist anymore already?
Well, we're gonna, I mean, she's got it. When we get it back, we'll turn it into something else.
Ah, c'est pas vrai.
Yeah.
It's a tradition of the royals used to do that, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what jewelry is. You know, jewelry has the perfect elements to constantly, you know, first of all, to live forever. You know, you don't use it once or twice, it's forever. And you can always reuse the materials. You can melt down the metal, you reuse the stones. So, you know, jewelry's made for that, and that's the fun of it. So that's the whole point. By doing this project, we're constantly trying to create something unusual that will grab attention. We did another piece in pearls that went over the shoulder for the BAFTAs. We have great fun doing them, yeah.
How did your collaboration with Louis Vuitton begin?
I worked many years ago for Fendi when Carl was there.
Did you?
I did. I made jewelry for 3 seasons for Carl, and the CEO at the time was Michael Burke. So when I left Tiffany, literally the next day, Michael Burke called and we started chatting.
You said yes because you knew you had this in common with Vuitton that was traveling?
Travel, obviously. And then I really believe for an artistic director or a creative director, the relationship you have with your CEO is everything. If you have a bad relationship with a CEO, you're never going to be able to express your vision. This connection is everything. And I'm very lucky, you know, to have had the opportunity to come to Vuitton, and now working with Pietro Beccari is phenomenal. You know, I consider myself extremely lucky, and to have the support, you know, of the Arnault family to be able to do these things, you know, to be able to say, yes, let's cut some diamonds. Why not?
Let's go crazy.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your latest collection, which is Le Damier?
The Damier collection. So Damier was created by Louis Vuitton in 1888, really to differentiate, you know, because they were starting to copy his trunks. So to differentiate a Louis Vuitton, a recognizably Louis Vuitton trunk, he created the Damier, which of course he protected, because he protected everything he did and he patented. And the Damier is obviously extremely recognizable to the house, but it's perfect for jewelry. And I really love the idea that we've recreated the tennis bracelet. I love recreating sort of classics. So the tennis bracelet is normally a line of diamonds. It's called a tennis bracelet because the tennis player dropped a bracelet while she was playing. And she said, stop! And everyone stopped and they started looking for this bracelet. And she found it, clipped it back on, and went and continued. Since then, it's been called the tennis bracelet. Obviously, it's made up of a line of diamonds. And here we created, you know, a square of gold, a diamond, a square of gold, a diamond. So it's a bit more modern, feels a little bit less, you know, old-fashioned. It's also completely, you know, for everyone. And it's just a great contemporary piece of jewelry.
How did you find the balance of it between the metal and diamonds?
It's, you know, what we did is we cut like a coffered ceiling in an old house. You know, we cut these squares a little bit at an angle and we set the diamond in. And then it was really balancing that square cut with the next square. And they're very beautifully linked together, especially the bracelets. They have this incredible fluidity, which I love. I can't stop fiddling with them. I literally just play with them all the time, yeah.
How long does it take to do such a...
Couple of years. It's a couple of years because you spend your time, you know, designing it, depending on how fast you are. You then develop it, you industrialize it, and then you have to go into production, and then you have to distribute it to your stores worldwide.
Do you draw at the beginning of it?
Yeah, I sketch.
Oh, you sketch?
I sketch. I sketch with a very thin black Bic pen.
Oh, really?
I do. I sketch, you know, I always have a sketchbook, and I sketch by hand.
No iPad?
I also can sketch on an iPad, absolutely. And then I also can use Illustrator or Photoshop, but I primarily sketch by hand. I work very, very closely with everyone. I work very hands-on. Like I go and I look at what everyone is doing, and I will sketch and say, try this, try this, try that. So I'm very involved in nearly everything we do.
So what is the energy of the studio? Could it compare to the studio of fashion that I know?
It's different. We have, you know, I mean, scale-wise, we work on small pieces, so you don't have, the mannequins with rolls of material and fittings and
You
all
have
of that.
fittings,
But
in a way, no? No, you don't have
well,
fittings?
not really. What we do is we have development meetings where we actually work with the ateliers and they come to us and we have meetings with them and then we put and try things on.
So it's a super technical fitting.
Very, very technical. But, it's a studio. There's music, there's people working, there's laughter, there's, fun, there's energy.
How do you express love when you really love a piece? What are the words you use?
Oh, I go crazy. I go absolutely crazy. When I love something, I get obsessed with shouty capital letters. I love this! Yeah.
I love when there's exclamation points.
Oh, it's amazing.
In creation. Well, it's the best.
When you just fall in love with something straight away, yeah.
Do you think the Damier is the next classic for?
Yeah, I do actually. I think Damier is going to be really great. It's going to have a lot of longevity. I think that it has a possibility of it being a success worldwide. And I think it's a collection that we can really build on. And it's a great way to buy diamonds because instead of having to buy a whole line of diamonds, you buy half and it looks cooler. It looks more sporty. It looks more casual, more approachable, more modern.
Kind of discreet in a way too.
Yes.
There's a kind of discretion.
Exactly. And I love with Vuitton that the jewelry we do at Vuitton is not a uniform. You don't see it on everyone. It's still really personal. And I think that Damier is going to be a great way for all our clients and new ones to start to really get to know the fine jewelry and to style it with the other collections.
Do you think people buy jewelry to get more confident or to add mystery to themselves?
I think that there are people who buy jewelry for to be part of a club. You see a lot of people wearing the same pieces, right? And it grows to a point of saturation. I think that there is a lot of jewelry that is sentiment. The intention of giving a gift is really important, even more than receiving it.
Ah, c'est vrai.
It's very true that, right? The intention is really key.
Oui.
And I think that that's beautiful. And actually, people are romantic. People are still really soft and romantic. We think we're all hard and over it. We're not.
We're sweet. And the mystery part, I feel like sometimes I see women in my circles and they wear jewelry and it adds a mystery to them.
Well, there's a story, right? There's always a symbolic story to the jewelry. And even when you play with it, when you feel it, there's something magical about jewelry. There's definitely, hidden kind of magic sparkles in there.
It gives character.
Yeah, but even when you see like jewelry that's uncovered from Viking time and it comes out and it's gold and it's perfect, right? And you just feel that this time hasn't touched it. There's something incredible.
Yeah.
You can't believe it.
I went to Athens and saw the ancient jewelry and I was like...
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blown.
Stunning,
Ouais.
right?
What are your styling tricks for jewelry?
Well, if I wear a necklace, I never wear earrings.
Okay.
I find it's too much.
Too much.
Obviously not like a pendant with a chain. But if you're wearing a big necklace, I do not wear earrings. Personally, I think that wearing rings on unusual fingers and in, like lower part of your finger or knuckle ring is always interesting. Chevalier, always great, always very chic, and lots of bracelets.
Lots?
Lots
no
of
limits.
bracelets. No limits with bracelets. But I also think because we look at our phones the whole time, bracelets have this has become, what we look at the most.
It's true.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I just think this has kind of become a very interesting part of your body that you want to have satisfaction when you look at.
So the hand and the wrist should be...
Should be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if the outfit is conservative, we can go wild with
crazy on the jewelry. You see, it's funny. Okay, so in the past, men bought jewelry for women, and they always bought earrings and necklaces because they got to see it. They got the satisfaction out of buying and gifting those pieces. Right. Now that women buy independently the pieces they want, they buy more rings and bracelets.
And if I have a really eccentric outfit, I should wear more conservative jewelry?
I don't know. I think that you can wear one amazing, crazy piece with an eccentric outfit. You know, crazy rings, crazy earrings, but just one.
Yeah, so you still balance it.
Yeah.
Wow. And for guys?
I think guys are really starting to wear jewelry well,
They
right? I think that there's a real openness now to wearing jewelry without judgment. And I think that, you know, this whole kind of obsession with brooches and then bracelets. I think that men used to always hide their bracelets. Even if they wore bracelets, they would always kind of keep it at bay. It was like tattoos, you know, you didn't show them. Now it's fantastic what's happening. I think that men are kind of, you know, have great style and wear jewelry really well. And, you know, in history, men wore jewelry even more than women.
We're back.
Yeah, full circle.
Full circle. What's your day like today?
Today I am with the design team. So I will go and work on, I'm working on 3 collections that I've got to kind of review, work with the team, and then we're going to kind of we're doing the research around the next high jewelry collection that we're doing. So we do a lot of research.
You're the most ahead of designers.
I hope so.
Thank you so much, Francesca.
Thank you.
Oh, j'adore. I could spend the afternoon. I want to spend the afternoon with you.
You should come to the studio
Mais oui,
once.
can I?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to.
Yeah.
I actually
You'll
want
see.
to.
You'll see so much.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank
Trop bien.
you.
Have a good day. Oh la la, I'm in love. I want to go to that studio. I want to go to Connecticut and to the Secret Studio in Paris to discover how it's done. It's really rare to meet an artistic director in jewelry because it's a very hidden profession usually. And so I'm excited to be able to talk and really understand how it's done and the joyous spirit that's behind such creations. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Louis Vuitton podcast, Extended. I'll be inviting you soon to discover new stories in the company of visionary personalities. Find all the episodes on your favorite listening platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You should subscribe to the podcast to get notifications so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. I look forward to welcome you back.